I trained to be a mediator at that point. I could see that, you could deliver the world-class care or whatever you call it, but if when things go wrong or when the communication breaks down, it's like you're pouring oil over a beautiful, beautiful thing. So
Mm,
I just felt this was something that would perhaps be useful to focus on.
mm,
No, how do we unintentionally exacerbate that? By not recognizing it, by not
mm,
recognizing that, by prematurely reassuring, by just,
mm,
well intentioned. And one of my I thought really useful phrases, particularly when children came from intensive care to the ward, would be to say, it's really normal to be concerned because the intensity of care is different. Realize that, saying it's normal, and there was a lot written about in psychology about normalizing how good it is, but it's much more nuanced than that. Saying to somebody it's normal when they're worried completely dismisses and undermines their concerns. There's things like that we probably say all the time. Um, as you said, assuming that they're compliant just because they're quiet. Quiet, agreeable parents are so much easier. Parents who
mm,
shout and demand and ask for this, that, and the other. But the quiet parents are really being underserved because we're not recognizing. And I
mm,
remember recently, about a couple of years ago, reading that the real skill is to make every person in front of you feel like you've got all the time in the world, even when you haven't. And I when I first read that, I literally cringed because I think I came across as one of those rushing doctors, rushing, rushing, rushing this meeting, that clinic appointment, and I was warm and I was kind, but I didn't ever give people the sense that I'd stopped. I was there, that they were the only thing that mattered to me in that moment. And I think that's really, really very, very key. Uh, in the training we deliver, we use the Cleveland Clinic empathy film. And I remember when I first saw it, again, it kind of made me cringe because I realized that I was one of those doctors who kind of rushed everywhere. And I just thought, I'm not going to do that. When I go from A to B, I'm going to lift my head up. I'm going to look at the people around me who may be having the worst day of their lives and just connect. And the amazing thing is, I probably got to meetings like 2 seconds slower, no later or earlier. But actually, just being able to look at somebody and just give them a little smile, waiting by the lift, just let someone go ahead of you or acknowledge them in a tiny way that actually took no time. I really noticed the difference in how I engaged with people around me, but it also made me feel better too. So this we can get caught up in a kind of an illusion of business. I know that clinicians are doing even more now with even less time, so there is a real time pressure. But for myself, I learned that it didn't do me a service, but it certainly gave my patients and parents a disservice.
mm,
I love Catherine Mannix's she's a palliative care doctor from the north who I think is retired, and she's got a lovely quote about stepping back to find perspective, that it is a challenge, but it
mm,
requires the humility to recognize that there may be a different way to look at the situation and to step back with curiosity. And the last line is intrigued by what you might discover. So
mm,
when I'm in a, if, in the clinical setting or in life, if I'm not agreeing with someone, I just try and remember and think, I wonder what I might discover if I just explore, if I'm curious. I think that's curiosity is a key one. The second one I'd say is recognize that people don't expect perfection. But clinicians are humans too. We mess up, but having the courage and perhaps the skills to repair after a
mm,
rupture. If you say something wrong and just say, actually, that didn't come right. Can I say that again? Or noticing when somebody flinches or grimaces or crosses their arms when you say something. What we tend to do in our embarrassment is rush over it. And I see that time and again, but actually to have the courage to stop and name it and repair that kind of rupture that happened. My last one would be really being honest, being transparent. People again will forgive you if you're really clear what you know and what you don't know. Transparency is really important rather than feeling because you're the clinician, you've got to reassure somebody with facts and information. Actually, what they need is to be seen and to be connected with first and foremost, and then everything else falls on top of that foundation. It's a tough, tough job. And I
mm,
really think it's not getting easier. So families only get into fight mode when they've had a life experience of having to fight. And any little thing we can do that helps people feel, okay, I don't have to fight here. I've got someone who's going to listen to me
Mm.
and collaborate with me, that can be golden. So every little dose of that, I think, is really worthwhile. So thank you, clinicians, for what you do.